discussing the identity, history, and culture of the Arab world, there is no conversation without controversy. Whether dealing with Phoenician identitarians from Lebanon, Pharaonic Egyptians, or recently, Talmudic identity from Saudi Arabia, it appears there is very little unity in the civilization established in the wake of the Islamic conquests. The various Arabic-speaking peoples appear at face value to be just that, Arabic-speaking peoples, but not genuinely Arabs as a primary identity. Why are so many of these countries that speak and write in the same language and share so much history divided into various regions with arbitrary borders? India is only a single country, yet it contains more human beings than the entire continent of Africa. Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran are all filled with a plethora of diverse ethnic groups, all speaking different languages and having different identities and cultural origins. But they are one country each. Yet the Arab world, speaking only one language in a variety of dialects, is completely disunified politically, culturally, and civilizationally. How did this come to pass? To answer this question, we must return to a period of time not so distant from us today, that of the last days of the Ottoman Empire. Established by nomadic Turks from Central Asia, the Ottoman Empire came to dominate much of the Middle East and a large portion of Europe beginning in the Balkans, stretching also into East Africa and the coastal north. It was a cosmopolitan empire comprising a sea of ethnic groups, languages, and religious affiliation, from Orthodox Christian Slavs to Greeks, Oriental Orthodox Armenians, Arab Christians, Muslims, Turks, Iranic groups, and others, making the civilization not so much a destroyer of Rome, but an Islamic replacement. It is in the weakened state of the late-stage Ottoman Empire that our story unfolds, a time when the cultural export of Europe was no longer Christianity, but nationalism and secularism. The European continent had divided itself into various empires, and within those, seemingly countless autonomous areas and fledgling nation-states, born from the wake of the Reformation and its divorce from Latin Catholicism and the later rise of secularism. These ideas saturated the Near East and penetrated all manner of thought and politics, eventually leading to the Ottoman Empire being overthrown by the secular Young Turks. While this spark began to grow, the question of identity arose amongst the Arabs as well. Originally, the British sought to thwart the Turkish power with a revolt amongst the Arabs, and a desired revival of Arab identity. But it was not the result they hoped for, despite the legendary struggle between the Ottomans and the Arabian Hashemites. The cause of Arabism actually preceded British ambition, as it was revived in the least likely of places, amongst Christians in the Middle East. It is here that we speak of the hero of this story, Amin al-Rihani. Born a Maronite Catholic in the region of Mount Lebanon, Amin al-Rihani would have a lasting impact on the legacy of Arab identity. He identified as a Syrian from Mount Lebanon and referred to the Middle East in its entirety as Arabia, not just the peninsula, labeling the Levant and Iraq as Northern Arabia, the peninsula as Central, and Yemen and Oman as Southern Arabia. He was a prolific writer and harsh critic of the Ottoman Empire, but he also had a friendship in the most unlikely of figures, that of Ibn Saud, the patriarch of Saudi Arabia, the country of his family's namesake. Amin writes, "I've referred to the treaties of Iraq with its neighbors to the north and to the east with Turkey and Iran. This may mean the inception of an Islamic League, as well as the creation of an Arab Federation. The British and the French government are both on friendly terms today with Ibn Saud, who started his pan-Arab movement by the sword, and is now completing it by treaties." Amin refers to Ibn Saud of all people as the leader of the pan-Arab movement, which sought to inspire the Arabs to unite on the basis of language and culture. He continues, "And whatever Ibn Saud says he means, he has a direct and forthright manner. When I first met him in the desert in 1922, his first words were, 'We have many reports against you, and they say that you have come into Arabia to teach Christianity to the Arabs, and they say that you have come to seek concessions in Arabia, and that you are a British spy, and they say that. But we say, if there is any truth in it, we know how to protect ourselves, and if there is any good, we know how to benefit by it.' That is Ibn Saud. He won me to him from the very first interview I had with him, and from our first meeting in the desert 15 years ago. Until today, his star is still in the ascendant. Ibn Saud today is considered the leader of the pan-Arab movement." He later described a visit to a Bedouin camp in the north of Iraq. He says that this chief that he met was the paramount chief of the Shammite tribe of Iraq, north of Mosul. He described Sheikh Ajil as tall, over 6 feet in his sandals, and blue-eyed. One might search throughout the tribes of Iraq and Najd for another, Ajil, and not find him. There's a drought taking place that he complains about. The Bedouin says, beyond our boundaries, which are in reality only tribal, there is, we are told, water and pasture. But there is the Syrian desert. Here, the desert of Iraq. Division is to strangle the Arabs. By the light of these stars, lifting his face and his hands up to heaven, what I say is true. The desert is one, and it knows nor Syria, nor Iraq. It knows only the Arabs. The desert is the land of the Arabs. What right have the Europeans or other foreigners in it? But the Europeans come here with unfathomable presumption, with intentions that cannot be concealed. The League of Nations Commission to define the northwestern boundaries between Iraq and Syria was then in Mosul. They come here, I say, commissioned by their own governments, not ours, to divide our country, our desert. There it is. You behold it in all its vacancies. It is all we have. It is neither Syrian nor Iraqi, I say again, nor by Allah European. It is Arabian. It belongs to the Arabs. It is clear that despite his Christian heritage, Amin does not see any conflation of Arab identity exclusively with Islam, nor does he criticize the religion of his neighbors. Amin desires above all else the unity of the Arabs into a singular political and civilizational function. And on that note, he complains of the attempts to divide the Arabs by geography, and within these borders implement local cultures to supersede and erase the memory of any shared associations. He says, they want to divide us in pursuit of total Western hegemony until our nationalism is dead. They have created in this day and age Pharaohism for Egypt, Phoenicianism for Lebanon, Berberism for Morocco. Why are we Arabs today identifying with people that we didn't even know existed a few decades ago, that we have nothing in common with? This is a disgrace. People of the Maghreb today are Arabs. They speak Arabic, they read Imru al-Qais, and they recite the Quran. It is here that we leave behind the writings of Amin al-Rihani, who helped us to gain a window into the thoughts of the people of this region in the not-so-distant past. It was less than 100 years ago that they mocked the idea of localized cultures replacing Arab identity, and yet today it is commonplace in every Arabic-speaking country. Egypt, with its gradual move away from Arabism and toward an idolization of pharaonic periods, the alienation of the northwest of Africa, the confusion, demographic warfare, and instability of the Levant, are all examples of the complete division of the Arab world. While I disagree with sentiments related to modern secularism and nationalism, which many of the pan-Arab writers appeal to, the issue of Arab identity amongst Christians in the region is not a manufactured idea. While there has always existed great local cultures, there was no overarching Phoenician identity until after the First World War, but rather various Syriac practices and cultural habits in the mountains of Lebanon and parts of western Syria. Likewise, what is considered part of Arab culture in one area may be foreign in another. This does not negate the semblance of similarity, however, as I mentioned before with the example of India. There are differences between various regions of India so large that it makes the disagreements amongst Arabs look childish and minuscule. What is considered Indian culture to someone from Pune may be completely foreign and contrary to culture in Kerala. To close this video essay on an incomplete note, I would argue that the Arab world is a collection of various ethnicities, all of whom with their own localized differences that form one large and diverse civilization. The summation of the ancient Semitic, Hamitic, or Kemetic groups into a singular structure spanning across the ruins and splendor of the civilizations of their distant past. Thank you for watching.